of India lives in its villages, declared Mahatma Gandhi at the beginning of 20th century. According to the 2011 census of India, 68.84% of the Indians, around 833.1 million people, live in 6,40,867 different villages. Unfortunately, we have not got any further census done in India in last 10 years. So this figure is 2011 figure. The size of these villages varies considerably. 2,36,004 Indian villages have a population of fewer than 500, while 3,976 villages have a population of 10,000 plus. Most of the villages have their own temples, mosque, or church, depending on the local religious following. Nowhere mentioned whether they have a hospitals or college or universities in the village. That is not mentioned. Anyway, so today's our topic is transforming Indian villages. And to discuss this topic, we have a very elite, knowledgeable persons who are authorities in this field. They will be giving their views. So I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he's Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. He's the former professor of marketing, innovation, and management, IIM Lucknow, XLRI Jamshedpur, and California State University, USA. He is president of Indo-Gulf Management Association. He is US Fulbright Fellow Boston, EFMD Fellow Paris, and British Council Fellow London. In 2019, he was ranked among the 251 most fabulous global education leaders. Welcome, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, as you know, the village figures, we have 10 years old figures, so we cannot say how many villages are there, what is the population size, and we don't know how many hospitals or universities, colleges are available, what is the road network. But because our topic is transforming Indian villages, so we would like you to highlight about the transforming Indian villages. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, please. Please unmute. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal.
Sorry. Once again, Mr. Goel, thank you very much for your very, very kind words about all of us. But at the same time, the topic makes us bound very, very beautifully, because I believe that people who are here today, they are the people who have been not only to villages as our own regular persons, but we have also done some work there as a part of our own responsibility to the society. So therefore, possibly we have a thing or two to say, and let's see that how viewers see those things and other things that we are going to add from our own insights and experiences. My interaction with the villages recently only has been in 1 year ago, that is last year, in the beginning of 2020, just when the COVID was starting, when I became a part of what is known as Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, UBA. Unnat Bharat Abhiyan has been started by the Ministry of Education or HRD or whichever way you take it, and the goal was that educational institutions and perhaps both technical and management education institutions, they should go there, study the problems that the villages have, and then work out solutions. And not only they should suggest solutions, they should also establish certain solutions. And those solutions can be based on the survey that we all were making under that particular mission, abhiyan or campaign or this thing. And very, very fortunately, it was being led by IIT Delhi. And IIT Delhi is the coordinating institution. So we were doing this. Now, I rather took the initiative of my own, not only just to be the head of that particular thing, but I also went to visit a cluster of villages near a place called Basti. Now, this Basti is near Gorakhpur, UP. So I went there, and alone I was. And in the beginning, I faced a lot of challenges, a lot of resistance from the villages, because they were very small villages, sometimes 1,000, sometimes 500, sometimes even 200 people. And a little hamlet, as you very correctly mentioned, the smallest of the villages, Now that one was just about, I would say, 150 people who were of a particular caste, of a particular community, and they were living like a cluster. In all those places, what you very correctly said about what Mahatma Gandhi had said, definitely if you go there, the eyes get opened up. What kind of difficulties they are facing and what kind of difficulties they just don't want to solve, and what kind of difficulties they don't want others to solve. I mean, it is something where first time I saw that there are difficulties, we know the solutions, but those solutions themselves are not being implemented for a variety of reasons. And those reasons also include the reluctance of the people for whom these suggestions are being made or these solutions are being made. So what is the first problem? The first problem is when you say something of any substance, of anything you do there, everything has to be under cash or with cash or related to cash. In other words, that cash is the currency that perhaps they understand better. That is number one problem that I noticed. Number two problem which I noticed was that it was also a problem of entitlement. And that entitlement is that because I'm poor, because I'm here, because I'm facing problems, therefore I'm entitled for A, B, C, D. Now that was the second thing which was very, very heartbreaking for me. And especially when I had just come back from, after 12 years of being abroad, when I saw that, I was kind of, facing this dilemma and that how to deal with it. The third problem which I noticed was that there was no necessarily a cooperation among themselves. Among themselves means there was a problem of trust. There was a problem of who to trust, who not to trust. And I can believe that because they must have been duped, they must have been deceived, they must have been misled, they must have been promised, but those things were never done. That particular problem was also there. So it was an eye-opening thing for me I made about 3 visits of that particular thing. And it was difficult for me even to, end the day on a happy note. Always I was thinking, what exactly, why? One of the major problems that we noticed was, and which I hope people understand here, that all able-bodied men were not there in the village. All able-bodied, or I would say mostly able-bodied villages. Why? They had migrated for work to the nearby cities, to nearby towns, some of them very, very far away, like Mumbai or Ahmedabad, wherever the wages and the work was much more attractive. So the villages consisted of people who were either not fully able-bodied, or women, or children, or old people. In other words, that the active population, which we call, that active population wasn't even there. So how do you get things done? Women have a lot of work to do, both at home, in the fields, in the cattle, farm, or variety of other things that they are doing. Children are growing most of the time on their own, unsupervised, and as a result, again, things were getting in a very different direction. Old people, for whatever reason, obviously physically and all, they were drained out of energy. So it was not very, very, I would say, positive scene to look at. And where do we make the changes? I made several, corner meetings with women. I also enlisted the people from ASHA, which is a scheme of health workers. They also came and they also, helped me in whatever way we could. But these problems were very, very stark. You could see that. So the question will be, how do you handle it? What are the responses you have? I believe that the education is number one solution. Adult education. Adult education is extremely important for the people who are left behind in the villages, whether it is women or whether it is aged, and somewhere this part has to be dealt with very, very well. Second, I believe that even some digitally operated classes could also be held for the children who are there, and somewhere we have to think very creatively so that the need of the school, the need of a school building, the need of a proper school building, that particular thing doesn't become as number one. Every village doesn't need a full village, full school. What they require is schooling access rather than school. So that particular schooling access, if it can be given in a blended mode or in a distant mode or in a digital mode, in some way where they can be, then that will be a fantastic idea. So this is together, I would say, number one is this. Number two is that the sense of entitlement has to be replaced by sense of, I would say, contribution, giving, even from within. Instead of waiting to be helped, I think they should also do something to help themselves. And there's so many model villages I can mention, one after another, where the authors, researchers have profiled them, in which they said that these villages are run by themselves. So wherever this sense of entitlement is replaced by the sense of obligation or sense of accountability or sense of, perhaps things becomes much faster, much better. For instance, in one village in Rajasthan, which is now seen among the model villages, the entire community plants 111 saplings or 111 trees for every girl that is born there. And not only do they do that, but they also take care of those trees the same way as if that they are taking care of the girl child. The second thing that they are doing is that they are also opening FDs, fixed deposits, bank fixed deposits for them, so that at some point this particular money becomes substantial, which can be used for the essentials relating to that child, either education or marriage or all those kind of things. Now, there's no sense of entitlement there. There is a sense of obligation. There's a sense of self-help. And that particular thing can also make changes. So attitudinal changes. One, educational changes. Second, attitudinal changes. The third thing that can transform the rural villages is access to working infrastructure. Now, this working infrastructure today has also to be contributed by the parties together, rather than waiting for the government to make the roads, government to provide the energy or electricity. Why not we have their local resources, based energy plants, which can light the entire village? Again, I go back to the model villages I was mentioning, that there are several villages, both in the northeast, which is a very, very difficult part, as well as in the, I would say, desert areas of Rajasthan, near especially Thar and all, where they have created solar energy, micro solar plants, which lights the entire world. So this is another thing that I believe should be done. So upshot is, and this is where I will stop, I would like to hear all my colleagues also, that the close to 7 lakh villages that we have in this country, in these 7 lakh villages, if we can make some kind of a segmentation approach, big, medium, small, tiny, if we can have those kind of classifications, and we can have a segmented or targeted approach towards those villages, then perhaps the benefits will be higher rather than one size fits all. It should be more customized, tailored to the size, to the type, like that. For instance, one particular village, which became later on a big study, case study also for others, 2 very, very educated people from this school of planning and architecture. These 2 little together, they transformed the agrarian economy of a village in West Bengal into fisheries. And into that particular fisheries, the cash and other things started coming to them. Then they also started helping them variety of things. Now, all this help came from outside. Why? Because the outside people were educated, they were exposed to the world, they were motivated, and they had the right intentions. I guess these things are also important to come from within. So rather than waiting to be helped, I believe that some initiatives must come from within themselves. Now somebody will say they are going away because there is no livelihood, because there is no income source. That's why they are migrating. Well, there are many new jobs, many new occupations, many new callings which have now appeared, which can also be used. I'm not saying all of them, but many of them can also be useful. So this is the thing I would like to say. I would like to go more from within the villages approach rather than going there as a consultant and showing to them that this is the world and this is what you should do. To me, that particular thing is more like, I would say, temporary, and it's not very permanent. That is how I feel rural villages can be transformed. Thank you, Mr. Goel, for sharing my 2 cents here in terms of my own experiences. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal. Now I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Dr. Rajat Gera. Dr. Rajat Gera is the Professor of Management at Jain deemed to be University, Bengaluru. Dr. Rajat Gera is a PhD in Management from Indraprasth University, New Delhi, MBA from Institute of Rural Management, Anand, and BTech from Allahabad University. He has been teaching at several institutes of repute in India and globally. He has more than 40 national and international publications and been published by Richard Ivey Business School. He has conducted corporate training for several leading organizations in private and public sector. Welcome, Dr. Rajat Gera. Dr. Rajat Gera, you have heard what Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal has mentioned. Now we would like to know your views on transforming Indian villages. Dr. Rajat Gera, please.
Thank you, sir. And it is a privilege for me to be sharing this platform with you, with Dr. Mohan Agarwal and other eminent panelists. So,
excuse me, Dr. Rajat Gera, your mobile is not stable. You have not kept on the table?
No, it's not on the table. Is it okay? Better now?
Please, so that it should not, because it's a live telecast. It
sure,
should not, it is in your hand or?
Yeah, it is in my hand.
No, you cannot hold it, doctor. Please keep it on the table with the support of some books, etc. Otherwise, it will give a.
Just minutes. Is it okay now, sir? Better?
Yes, it's okay. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So first, I would like to acknowledge my gratitude to you and to the forum given to me. So without wasting further time, I would like to take off from where Dr. Mohan Agarwal, for the points raised by Dr. Mohan Agarwal. First, let me say that I agree with many of the points raised by Dr. Mohan Agarwal, that transformation has to be from within the village and it cannot be from without. So there can be a facilitation process, there can be a collaboration and partnership. But as Dr. Mohan Agarwal pointed out, there are many model villages which show that effective transformation happens when the villagers take responsibility for it and they take the onus of it, and they are the implementers. So one point which we are converging on is that village transformation cannot be a external factor. We can create the infrastructure, we can invest money, we can do all kind of things, but it will never succeed unless the community takes the responsibility. So we see there are many successful models of Tata's government-based, Maharashtra government, and even smart villages are there. But all these transformations happen when the community took the responsibility, whether the leadership was from the elected leader or whether it was from some technocrat, but somebody from within the community mobilized the people and they took the responsibility. So that is one point which I'm totally in agreement with. Now coming to the second point, that what is transformation? Now, if you look at Mahatma Gandhi's vision of transformation, he talked about a village where intelligent beings live and which is a self-contained ecosystem, which generates its own. It's a self-contained economy. It is not dependent on the urban or the external economy. So he talked about a vision of, I mean, I'm very impressed because what Mahatma Gandhi talked about is actually what is happening today. That if you look at all the model villages which are being transformed, the model of transformation is not the same. In some case, it is driven by technology, in some case by sustainable development of the forest, or the sustainable development of the environment, or the, you know, the water resources. So every village, model village which has transformed has a different model of transformation and a different objective. So we cannot say that transformation has any universal definition. Yeah, the government talks about sustainable livelihoods or increasing the income. But if you look at Mahatma Gandhi's vision, he said the income will go up once the village becomes an ecosystem. So a sustainable ecosystem model is what Mahatma Gandhi envisioned. And interestingly, you will see that that is the model which is most successful as of date. A model where there are entrepreneurs within the village, there are lenders, and you know, yes, we have money lenders, but we are talking of microfinance where depositors are from the village and the borrowers are also from the village. Or we can say employment is generated by the villagers for the villagers. So an ecosystem, because if you see a village economy, or even if you see a group of villages within a block or a taluka, are highly interdependent. You see, if you take out one part of it, the other part, see, let's take the case of, let us say, availability of water. If there is no water, you can't give education because the children will be involved in collecting water for the family. So there is a highly interrelated, interconnected economy, and you can't do development as a piecemeal approach. So any intervention has to be based on the environment, the people living there, their ecosystem, their needs, and only then some kind of development can start. And development should not be about, you know, linking. You know, we talk about linkages, we talk about giving, and like Dr. Mohan Agarwal said, entitlement versus, you know, we are not here to do charity. So we must consider them as intelligent beings. Yes, I agree there is a challenge. Many villages, they don't feel the need for transformation. So another aspect is socio-cultural transformation is as important as infrastructure or economic transformation. So you cannot segregate socio-cultural transformation from economic transformation. So any transformation has to leverage the socio-cultural aspect, the economic aspect, the spatial and geographical aspect. So there cannot be a transformation which is only driven by, you know, we say, okay, we will, you know, start microfinance or self-help group and it will lead to village transformation. Yeah, we have to have a starting point. A self-help group can be a starting point. If you see many villages, model villages, the self-help group are the key driver of transformation. But does it lead to overall transformation of the village where, you know, every aspect starts development, like health is there, education is there, livelihoods are there. So a transformation cannot be a piecemeal approach. It has to be holistic, integrated, and driven by the villagers or the community. Yes, we can give certain, you know, partnership and collaboration is another factor which is very important. There has to be partnership with technology, partnership with the markets, partnership with the other, you know, so any successful transformation model which we have seen is nowadays latest, it is leveraging technology. If you see, many of the villages have transformed just by changing the cropping pattern, shifting to, you know, cash-rich crops or orchards, you know, growing, you know, horticultural crops. So transformation can be in any dimension, any aspect. But if we look at what Mahatma Gandhi talked about, which we have to understand, it cannot be unidimensional. It has to be multidimensional, and there has to be an ecosystem. It has to leverage the local ecosystem, the local environment, and the socio-cultural aspect is equally important. And if you see, like Dr. Mohan Agarwal was mentioning, there is no trust between the people in the community. So unless there is trust, the village as a whole cannot develop. So these are my key points which I would like to contribute. And if I compare with the Western model, I have seen villages in Austria and even in China, if you see, they are building big malls. They are actually, the model is to convert a village into an urban. It's a more like transforming a village into an urban society. So we have the opportunity to develop an alternative model of transformation where we preserve the village culture, the local environment. At the same time, we leverage the technology available today. So that is the opportunity available. So with that, I would like to conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rajat Gera. Now I would like to invite my next panelist. Are you there, Dr. Monica Cole? Dr. Monica Cole, are you there? I think she is not there. So I would like to move to the next panelist guest, and he's Dr. Vijay Kumar. Dr. Vijay Kumar is from School of Education, APJ University, Gurugram, NCR. He's Master of Commerce in Business Management. He has done MEd, MPhil Education and PhD Education from Jamia Millia Islamia. He has been founder, faculty in many institutes of teacher education and started new program of teacher education. He is associated with reputed national as well as state teacher education institutions. He received awards from Intel Incorporation, Microsoft Incorporation, and Sri Eurobond Society for Integration of Technology and Zero-Cost Innovative Educational Practices. Welcome, Dr. Vijay Kumar, on our show. Dr. Vijay Kumar, you have heard our earlier panelists, Professor Dr. Mohan Lal Agrawal, as well as Dr. Rajat Gera. Now, we would like to know from you your views on transforming Indian villages. Dr. Vijay Kumar, please.
Thank you.
I think we lost Dr. Vijay Kumar. His connection was weak. This is the problem in the city like Bengaluru. I don't know what is the situation in the village. We are talking of Indian villages. Dr. Vijay Kumar, are you there now?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, I would
No, we can't hear you.
It's a privilege for me to be talking to you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So I would like to talk from the perspective of a teacher educator, because I'm a teacher educator and my responsibility is to prepare teachers. So I feel that future teachers, they have this compatibility, they have this capability to develop the village society, the societies. So I am also the program coordinator here in APJ Satya University. First of all, I would like to tell a little bit about the university. So this university has a vision and mission of man making and nation building, and how we are doing it. We are doing it with the help of so many innovative courses. And we also have a provision of community services, means every student in the university, they have to complete at least 1 credit of community services. If they are not doing, if they have not done it, they will not be getting degrees. So this is our efforts to make students sensitive towards the community. So when I joined this university, I started a national service scheme, which is behind the ideology of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, as we know, he was a very fond of rural development, village development. And he used to say that the soul of the country resides in its villages. And if the villages perishes, the whole nation will perish. So he, with the help of, with the support of Dr. Zakir Hussain, they started Nai Talim. And Nai Talim, the purpose behind Nai Talim was basically to ensure that the youth doesn't have any wrong conception about the education system, and they help in the development of village community. So NSS, we have Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, the purpose of which is to transform village economy, so that villagers, they don't have to go to the urban areas for their necessary needs. They don't have to go to the urban areas for their health needs, technological needs, education needs. Everything which they see in urban areas is available in the rural area itself. So what is the purpose? I would like to talk on the role of youth in the rural development. Rural development is possible only and only when youth is interested in doing their services for the village community, for the rural areas. So if some students, they are interested in serving the community, they can do through a national service scheme, which is NSS, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. And also we have another provision, that is the Rotary Club, which is the sister concern of Rotary International. So if a student is interested in doing community services, it helps in building a campus community linkage. Why campus community linkage? Because we know that there is a huge gap between what is needed by the community and what is being taught in the campuses. And this is the reason I think that our universities, our colleges in India, they are lagging behind in the international ranking. So they must have a campus community linkage scheme for public service by youth. This also helps in the personality development of youth. And why it works, how it works, when the students go in the village community, when they start building dialogues, they develop the leadership skills. They develop how to build dialogues, which is a very important skill in the 21st century. So development of personality of students happens through community services. And the another important thing which I was talking is that there is a huge gap between what is needed in the personalities of our students, our graduates, and what is needed in the community. So what community needs, that can be provided by a youth of the country. They know, they have knowledge, they have skills, aptitude also we need to develop. Okay, and so that will help the village, that can be used, the personality of youth, that they can learn from the community. See, whatever we get from the society, from the community. And we have to, after, for example, completing our courses, our programs, we will be serving on the village, on the community only. We cannot think of some profession which is not being performed in community, in society. So ultimately we will have to do, whether we are engineer, whether we are a teacher, whether we are a doctor, anybody we are. So we will have to perform while we are in the community. So that compatibility, that capability, all these skills can we learn only when we are in the community. So this becomes very important. From the perspective of a teacher, why we are using these community development initiatives, projects for the development of personality of our teachers, future teachers, teacher trainees, this is very important. We know that business has their own environment. Environment is very important factors for the success or failure of any business organization. Similarly, educational institutions also works in some environment. And we know there are some internal environment and there are some external environments. So there are some questions when we teach our future teachers, our teacher trainees. And what are these questions? Why, what, when, where, how, all these questions. So why is related with the aims of education. Aims of education is provided by the apex body. For example, in India, it is NCERT. We cannot decide our own objectives. So why is given? What is also given? What is also given by the apex body? For example, NCERT. So what will be the curriculum? What is to be taught, for example? That is also not decided by the teacher. That is given from the higher authorities. But how we can transact these? How and where we can transact these? This can be decided at the level of the teacher, as the level of the institution, school, college, or university. So we know experiential learning is very important methods of learning these days. And experiential learning, we have a myth that experiential learning, we need to take student outside. This can be done inside the campus also, but usually we take our students in the community, in the village, in the rural areas for doing some kind of community service. And what kind of community services we are doing in the village economy? We go to the village schools, if I give example of our nearby school, they have 14 sanctioned posts of teachers, but they have only 2 teachers. You can just imagine 14 sanctioned posts and 2 teachers are just doing service. So, and all these teachers, they have also some limitations. They are not able to engage all the learners. So our students, they visit those schools, they engage learners, village learners. They do not have that distraction which learners in urban areas have. For example, students in urban areas, they have to visit Pizza Hut, Domino's, they will have to go to some theaters like that. Students in village community, they don't have such distraction. Their only task is to study and to help their parents and to play games and sports. That's all they have. So if we can provide them such great learning experiences, if we can engage these learners in some creative activities, so we are doing that. And this is one example. This also has helped in the development of personality of our students. For example, our students, they come from economically well-to-do families. So one of our students, when I was taking Viva after the semester was over, so I was asking one student, what changes you have seen in your behavior after completion of this course? So she said that, sir, earlier I could not build dialogues. I was very scared of starting dialogues with the strangers. I could not have that capability. But now when I visited these areas, I start developing that. I have developed that skill. Another student, I asked her, that was a boy, I asked him, what changes have been brought in your behavior? So he said that, sir, earlier I used to complain a lot to my parents that what you have done for me, you have not done anything for me. But when I visit these areas, these rural areas, these areas which lack basic, at least even the basic facilities, basic amenities, when I visited them, I found that I'm a privileged one. I have better facilities. My parents have done a lot for me. So these are certain changes in the behavior of learners when they visit communities, when they do community service in these areas. So I think these community services, which I was talking through National Service Scheme, which is under Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, and the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, which is under Ministry of Education. So they have helped a lot in the transformation of the personality of students. And through them, we have been able to bring some positive changes in our village, neighborhood communities, neighborhood school. One of the important, for example, a change which we have been able to bring in that school. I was talking about, there are some schools in our neighborhood. So through these initiatives, the students in these areas, they have been able to perform better. Even we have invited them in our school, in our university campus also, so that they can be motivated to pursue higher studies. And I have come to know that some of them, they have even joined the prestigious universities also. They have started, earlier there was only up to 10th standard, it was a secondary school, but now they have, because the government is seeing, the district collector, they have seen that students are progressing well. So even they have extended the level of school up to senior secondary. So these are some of the steps which we are taking through our students, through our university for the village development. I think every university, every institution, whether it is a school or college or university, they should do their best, because most of the schools, they are universities, they are in the midst of villages, rural areas. Generally, I'm saying generally. So they should help in the village development, community development. So I think this is what I want to say, and we are trying our best to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vijay Kumar. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and she's Dr. Monica Goel. Dr. Monica Goel, you heard our earlier panelists, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, Dr. Rajat Gera, and Dr. Vijay Kumar. Now we would like to know from you your views on transforming Indian villages. Dr. Monica Kaul, please. Please unmute. Yeah.
Thank you so much, the eminent panelists over here. I thank you all for giving me this opportunity of participating in this interesting live discussion session. And as we already have been discussing since 10:30 a.m. About the Indian villages and Indian villages being soul of India. I just want to, just add whatever has already been said, because the eminent panelists here, Professor Mohan Agarwal, Dr. Rajat, and Dr. Vijay has already, got this opportunity to speak earlier, and I'm the last one in the panel. So I feel I'll only share my experiences as a part of a college, which is one of the best colleges in the University of Delhi, and how we have been taking various initiatives in our college to contribute in our own simple ways in transforming villages. Though we are in the metropolitan city of Delhi, but we all know Delhi is a amalgamation of two faces. On one side, you have high-rise buildings, and on another side, you also have a huge part of it. You'll have Saket on one side, and you'll have Munerika village on the other side. You'll have all posh colonies of civil lines on one side, and on the other side of the road, you have Chandraval and Timarpur villages. So we at Hansraj have been, since I've joined this college, I've seen that there has been a culture of being a socially responsible institution. So from very beginning, we have been taking care of certain initiatives. We have been, running certain programs in these adjacent villages. For example, as a college, part of the college where we have students coming from all across India, we took up certain projects where the students from different academic backgrounds, or the students from different social backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and some of them themselves from the very small villages came in. They could relate to some of the problems these adjacent villages were having. One of the problems which we recognized was that there was lack of quality education being provided to those areas. So one of the interesting initiatives by Hansraj College has been a program called Padhaku. Padhaku as an initiative has been covered widely by newspapers, by TV channels, and the program is very unique. Unique in the sense it's a program which was started by the students of the college. Two girls from maths honors. One of them is Shrishti, and she's now an Oxford graduate. We had some, construction going on in the college, and there were Chandraval, because there are a lot of migrant laborers also staying in Chandraval village. We got the kids there, and under the banner of this Padaku program, we initiated a teaching program for these kids. And there the students of maths honors, physics honors, Hindi honors, English honors, who enter into Hansraj College with a lot of, a good percentage, they started teaching those kids. Initially, it was just to help them in their basic school curriculum. But then we understood that it's not just the curriculum which has a meaning. It is important for them to learn the general knowledge, learn the etiquettes, learn about the environment. Gradually, we also decided to, if we wanted to influence them, we wanted to know their social background. So we got in their parents in. Fathers refused, but mothers did enter in the Hansraj College campus. We gave them the feel of the college campus looks like, and we did PowerPoint presentations with the women talking about various women health issues. So, it was like a program wherein we as a college are trying to transform the adjacent village of Chandraval. It all started from there. But then we wanted to extend it to the other parts, and we selected Yamuna Khadar. I'm sure if you Google Yamuna Khadar and if you Google Hansraj College, they'll appear to be synonyms. We kind of adopted this slum. And it's been now 12, 13 years. We are a family to them. Every weekend the kids go there. We did ICT training with the students because they had to shift on to the online education mode during the pandemic. We went on to talk to the municipality of the area to sponsor some toilets there. We also did sanitation programs under the Swachhata Pakhwada and Swachhata initiatives. The students went and they cleaned, they started cleaning the entire area. So, that kind of motivated people. Then we talked about how dengue is spread. We talked about how different, communicable diseases can be prevented. Students did plays, street plays there in order to communicate to them in their own language. Me and one of my colleagues, Dr. Romila Rawat, has been continuously going there almost every month and talking to women about how to bring up their children in a better way within the resources they have. See, we as a education institution do not have separate funds to sponsor them, but we do collection drives at our own level in the college. And then whatever collections we get, cash, sports items, toys, we go and give them. But what I want to bring to the notice of this eminent panel here is that UBA was another very important initiative by Government of India, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, which we are also a part of. Our college is one of the participants in the UBA program. So, because the program is focused on villages, and today's discussion is on how to transform the rural areas, we started thinking a bit loud, but decided on catching the low-hanging fruits first. So 5 villages were selected because it was important to get into the program. You had to select the 5 villages in the adjacent area. So we have Shastri Nagar village, and we have Timarpur village, which is just like 2-3 kilometers from our college. And we have Khajuri Khas, which is again 4-5 kilometers from the college, which we have adopted. So initially, Yamuna Khadar had already made the image of the students. Students do not do these things only because they feel it is their social responsibility, because they also feel that it's a training ground for them. They get trained, they get to know how a village is, and many students are actually aspirants for civil services. So in the opening presentation, we told them that it would be a kind of a program for them to know how an Indian village system looks like, how a panchayat works, and they'll have a hands-on experience while they go there and talk to people, and they'll get to know what are the problems, at least in urban villages, because we don't have that rural set of environment around them. But then, because the students in Hansraj College are from across the country, they are from Bihar, they are from villages of Kerala, they are from villages of Puttur in Karnataka, to the villages of J&K, Kishtwad and Punch, and all over India. So we have a pan-India representation of students. So we also told them that when they go back home during the vacations, during the period when they have off and semester breaks, they can carry forward those initiatives there. So students have been kind of leading campaigns about, for example, Punjab students in our college. They started talking about pesticides to the rural background. And I myself a botany teacher, and I teach ecology and environment to the students. So some of my students who were kind of interested in doing environmental education in their future, or taking up a PhD degree and master's degree in environmental education, they went onto the field. They went to the women in the villages who are working on field, to men in the villages, especially in the parts of Punjab, because cancer is spreading very fast, and we know pesticides are the one of the reasons for increase in the incidence of cancer. So we talked about what can be the occupational hazards the farmers are facing. And that was communicated to them through vernacular language, because the students were Punjabis who came from the areas of Ludhiana and other adjacent villages. So this initiative was, again, one of the very interesting initiatives taken by the students of Hansraj College. And I really owe a lot to my students, because whatever we discuss in our, whenever we do any kind of brainstorming, it is the students who go onto the ground and discuss it. So I think UBA gave a lot of impetus to the social responsibility aspect, which we had already started. So I just want to, can you allow me to use my screen?
No, it's not possible. It's a live telecast.
Okay. So, I just want to talk about some of the initiatives also under the UBA, which we have been taking, and I thought I'll share with you my presentation. So, in our adopted villages, as I already said, it's an urban setup. So many people are already aware of many things, but they were not aware of how to take advantage of some of the government schemes. And this we took as our responsibility, that whichever villages we have selected, including Yamuna Khadar as our flagship program, and extending it to our adopted villages under UBA scheme, we thought of, making pamphlets and small posters in Hindi regarding the different government initiatives, because many people are not aware about. So, for example, we talked about Ujjwala scheme and how people can take benefit of it. We talked about a minimum wages act. We talked about the initiatives such as, we did a very interesting competition, and therein the theme of the competition was Mera Gaon, Mera Desh. So how much do you know your villages? That again, during the pandemic, helped students to visit every area of their villages, because this competition was how much in terms of what your village has in terms of resources, what your village has in terms of cultural heritage, what your village has in terms of the religious heritage or social heritage, or because many of these villages, especially in Bihar, have a huge knowledge repository, and people, we in other parts of India, except for Nalanda, which everyone knows, we don't know many of these areas. So when this competition was held, we were like spellbound to know how self-sufficient our villages are, some of them. How has education reached in last few years after the implementation of Right to Education Act, and how people are benefited out of it. But we also observed that there are still some villages which have improved the way the very adjacent villages have. So we wanted students to find out what are the probable reasons for not every village in a state doing so phenomenally well, like some of the villages. So we found out the reasons, maybe because I would, as a woman, also want to find out wherever the women literacy is more, villages are more progressive. Wherever women are aware about their rights, the villages are socially more conditioned than where the women is still at the back foot. So our conclusion was that women education is very important, and we need to educate women in the villages. And for that, what can be done? So we also wrote a letter to the PMO office regarding what kind of initiatives need to be taken because this was a UBA. UBA wants us to do that, to take surveys, to find out the various aspects. I am also very proud to share with you that Unnat Bharat Abhiyan did a competition regarding how different educational institutes or UBA partners are helping in pandemic time. So a national video competition was held. It was first held at the regional level, and all the regional winners went on to compete in the national level. And in the regional level competition, Hansraj College won the first prize in national video making competition on COVID awareness. And later at the national level, we won second prize. So, this again, though prizes are not important, but this gives kind of, kick to the student because their efforts, because this video was entirely made by a team of students who are a part of UBA and NSS Hansraj College. So UBA, in collaboration with National Social Service Scheme, took it as a challenge, and every third day, we do uploaded with the new initiatives taken by government. For example, pollution probably is not a very important point of discussion for villagers, but we know that Delhi is facing a lot of problems due to burning of the stubble in the adjacent villages of Delhi. So how important is to tell the people in those areas that their activities are probably affecting the children in the adjacent areas. So we showed them how asthma has increased in Delhi over a period of time. We talked coronary respiratory diseases to them, and we also sensitize them in a way that these problems affect children, and children are our future. Our country's progress depends upon how our children are going to fare in future, and their health is directly related to their productivity. And we claim to be a country's population, claim as in we are a country with the youngest population, and we expect this dividend, population dividend, to help in the progress of our country. Somebody sponsored Horlicks and somebody sponsored glucose biscuits and all that, and then we distributed them to the Padaku kids, thinking that we can change the ways. We have a very rich tradition of giving. If we are privileged, we must help others. So that kind of feeling we want to get ingrained in our young generation. Been doing it, or we have been doing it. We must welcome the way they want to take over the initiatives, but the spirit is more important. So another thing I want to say from this platform is, see, as teachers, I feel that we are a respected lot. Some of our students take inspiration from us, and also some of our students probably see us as role models. They do not do what we say. They try to emulate what we do. So as teachers, as as trainers of the future generation, we must talk about villages. We must show them both the facets of Indian villages. We must tell them that it is their responsibility to see, because I'm a science teacher. We are a college which has a very good science, economics, commerce, everything there. So we are also trying to talk about the social entrepreneurship. So we have a project called Project Jugnu, which was actually an initiative by NSS, but we have now collaborated it with UBA. So this Project Jugnu is where the students collect the wax from the churches in the area around our campus. So, and then this is given to some women in our adopted villages, and they make new candles out of it. Then we, during our annual fest, which is a college annual fest conference, under the Utsav, we sell those candles. And this fest is always held before Diwali. So we already have, people have to buy candles, and colleges providing the candles in their own arena. So every teacher goes, buys, and that money goes back to those women who make it. So this is another kind of a social entrepreneurship initiative as a college. And I'm sure many colleges are doing many such initiatives, but we can do, there are different kinds of issues in different villages across the country, and people can take them up. And students are our strength, and they really want to do. And this also helps them in their building up their CV, because when they want to go abroad, they ask for letters of references from us. And we do help those students who have involved themselves in such kind of activities. So we write better LORs for them. This helps them get admission in various universities abroad. So it's a win-win situation for teachers. It's a win-win situation for the students, and it's a win-win situation for the program initiatives like IIT Delhi, who started a UBA. So I think I think people are looking at me, and I must stop here. I have already taken the time which was allotted to me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Monica Goel,
Thank
for
you,
giving
everyone.
views. Now I would like to ask some questions. Viewers, you have listened what the educators and our panelists have spoken, but what is the ground reality? I think I have, as a host of the program, I have a right to ask that question. My first question goes to Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, we have heard one word called Pura, that is providing urban amenities to rural areas, which was mooted by former President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam in January 2003 as a way of empowering and accelerating rural development. And new name was given by this government as Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Rural Mission, SPMRM. 20 years passed, almost 20 years passed, 18 years passed. The conditions of the villages, Indian villages, are very bad. The ground reality is whatsoever we are talking, it is like that the urban people wants to do charity to the villagers, although you have mentioned very clearly that it should come from inside. But what we are seeing is that we are sending the students, they will go there, they will have a photo ops there, they will put in their CVs, they will get admissions here and there. But what is the ground reality? The ground reality is there is no basic infrastructure in the villages. There are no proper roads, no electricity, proper electricity, no internet facilities, proper internet facilities, and forget about the hospitals and educational institutions. Do you think what we are talking today, transforming Indian villages, unless we will not bring those urban amenities to the villages, it is not possible to do any transformation whatsoever we are talking. We are a country of 7 lakhs approximately villages in India, and we are talking of few of the ideal villages which we are giving example, which are close to the urban areas. But what are the remote areas where nobody wants to go? They do not want to even venture there. There are places where even there are no bridges, the culverts are not there, the roads are not proper. I would like to know from you, do you agree this, or you think no, now the Indian villages are all transformed, there is nothing, we are now 70 so many years have passed, or 75 years have passed after independence, and still we are just talking about villages. What you say about this, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal?
Thank you very much, Goel Saab, for raising very fundamental and relevant issues for all of us to ponder. I think whenever you ask such questions, you are asking us to search our soul and sincerity in whatever we are saying or whatever we are doing. So I really appreciate that. Truth is never on one side. Truth is always on every side, but the amount of truth may vary from one side to another. That's the beauty of life, and that's also the complexity of life, that no one is fully right, nobody is fully wrong. So let me take first point which you mentioned about Pura. I also saw that a lot, and thereafter naming doesn't matter to me, that who did that whether it was Abdul Kalam or whether it is BJP, those things are just to get some brownie political points, And I think we as perhaps thought leaders or thinking persons, we shouldn't be misled, and we shouldn't be somewhere going to those directions because the names are attached. Essence is what they are saying. Now, if we look at the essence of Pura, it is a very, very good example. But then the question is that urban facilities, are they suited for the villages? I mean, saying something as a slogan and saying something relevant can be two different things. It is not that I have highest regard for what he's saying. Urban facilities, what are the urban facilities? Are you talking about infrastructure facilities? Are you talking about basic sanitation? Are you talking about college and a university in every village? I mean, what is the meaning of urban, providing urban facilities to the rural areas? There has to be some kind of contextual relevance, and it also has to be whether it is needed or not. Suppose we create a mall into a rural area because this is what urban people are looking at, then it is a disservice to both, to the people who are investing as well as the person who are receiving, because there will be no customers. There will be nothing like that. Then what will happen of those edifices that we have created? Are these things free of cost? Is the government is providing free of cost? Government will also be taking it from taxes and from variety of other sources, because government doesn't produce anything of its own. It only distributes, collects and redistributes. So therefore, that particular thing to me is more like a message rather than a strategy. So that is number one point which I would like to make, whether it is coming from him or coming from BJP or coming from even future governments also. Still, it doesn't change the point which I am trying to make, that every change must be contextual, relevant, and worthy of making that change. Every change is not like that. The second point which you mentioned is that the villages conditions is bad. Yes, totally. But that is also not true fully, because there have been number of villages which are no longer looking as villages. I mean, if I want to take my family or children, chalo, let's go to villages and I'll show you the villages. Where is the village that? That kind of thing has become either the town outskirt, or it has become adjacent to a particular city, and therefore it has become a curate's egg. Some part good, some part bad. So therefore that part is also not there. The third part is that why do we have to force the changes? I mean, the point which Rajat was making was excellent, where he said the socio-cultural changes are required, and those changes will become the basis of other changes like economic changes or employment changes and others. So therefore, we are not changing that, but we are saying we'll give you, the road, we will give you the electricity, free road, free water. Why? Because this is being given in the cities. I think important thing is, why can't we improve the water table of the rural villages from within itself? There is a village, again, I go back to those model village kind of thing, where they stopped doing the traditional farming because water scarcity was there. So what they did, they went into the dairying, they went into some horticulture, and after a few years, the water table improved within the village, and the village was able to go back to all those things which were saying. Now, was it done by an outside agency? Was it done by government? No, it was done from the village itself. If you look into the history of any village transformation, it took because it was there from within. That's the thing I'm trying to say. Why we become, on one time we said that we are having photo opportunity, and on the other hand, we are saying that do something for us. Isn't it a contradiction? Why should you feel bad if suppose somebody is taking a picture of some accomplishments that somebody has made? That is also an internal motivation for that person also.
Okay.
So from that thing, I would say that there has to be changes from within rather than from outside.
Okay.
This is the thing I would say.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal. Now, my question goes to Dr. Rajat Gera. Dr. Rajat Gera, you mentioned that we do not do the urbanization in the rural area. Now, my thing is, we are not providing any basic infrastructure like what Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal was saying about the sanitation. What is the condition of electricity? If there is any shortage of electricity today in power crisis in India, it is only in the villages. Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, there is no power cut. My question to you, are they, the Mumbai people are giving more percentage of income tax or GST than a village business person or a villager? If not, then why they are not getting the same facilities which a Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, or any metro city people are getting, or a class A cities are getting? After all, this differentiation, we have done it. We are treating them as a senior, second grade citizen. We are not treating them at par. If we are treating at par, either we must provide them those facilities. If we say that we are a poor country, developing country, it will take time, no problem. Give them the privileges, give them those things. Like Professor Agarwal mentioned about the mall. If you see everywhere in the world, whether it's the USA or UK, even in Dubai, they have an outlet malls concept, which is basically away from the city, and they are in the villages. And those outlet mall means no taxation to the government and employment generation for the local people. So the advantage is that city people are going to that outlet malls. They are purchasing from there because they are getting the discounts, heavy discounts, 50 to 70% or more. And the local people are benefited because they are getting the employment generation. And because of that mall, the tourism is developing, and so forth. So my question to you is, why not? Instead that people are coming from villages to city people should go, and they should feel that if we are going there for their own advantage, because no one today, to be very frank, nobody goes without their self-interest. What you say about this, Dr. Rajat Gera?
Thank you very much, sir. Very relevant and interesting questions. I'll take them one by one. So let's start with the mall concept. Do we need the urban mall concept in rural area? If you look at e-Chopal, they have also created mall. But these malls serve dual purpose. First, they are the places where people bring their produce from the village and they get the cash. Then that cash is spent in the mall to buy necessary purchases, items that they need. So do we need an urban mall concept, or do we need to contextualize the mall to the local ecosystem or the local supply chain? So if you look at e-Chopal as a case study of a successful transformation which has happened at a higher scale, because most transformations in India at a very small scale. So we need to find some kind of adaptations or solutions which are more relevant to the local context. That is very important. Now, let me give you an example of, you talked about sanitation. Now, our concept of sanitation is to create toilets which need maintenance, which need water. Do we have that kind of infrastructure in the rural? And who will pay for it? But I had some students from Finland who worked with me for 6 months and under their project, because if you see in Finland, students doing their engineering and all, they have to go for 5 to 6 months to other countries and they have to do projects. So I asked the project advisor that what should I tell them? What is the objective? They said, don't tell them anything. They will decide everything. Now, one of the solutions which one of the students found was a dry toilet solution. Now, a dry toilet solution is a solution which doesn't need water, and it can be constructed locally by everybody at a very low cost. Now, I was very surprised, and he told me it is somebody in Tanzania has done this innovation. So if you see, even Sweden is trying to do some innovation in sanitation, which doesn't require so much water. So my point is, one is the social cultural. If you see these two movies, Manthan and one is Toilet Prem Katha, you will see that transformation cannot be done just by making toilets or making some facilities. You see, these facilities should be needed by the people. They should be supported, because, you know, who will do the, in urban, we have a, say, 1 million people staying in one certain area. So you can create these kind of facilities and economically people pay for it, or somebody pays through directly, indirectly. But where we have a village of say 1,000 people or 1,500 people, is it economical? Is it feasible to create such solutions? So what I would say is that distributed, that's what I talked about, distributed development. We cannot talk about centralized development or planned development. Let us look at distributed, where water table is low, we have to find solutions which don't require much water. Where, the problem is of connectivity, we need to see whether physical connectivity or digital connectivity. Now we are talking about delivery by drones. So do you really need, if you look at the economic point of view, transporting products, do we really need to, build roads? You see in Uttarakhand and all, even if you build the road every year, the water, the rivers, they have those seasonal rivers and they will wash out everything. So we need to look at solutions which are sustainable by the community, which are economically viable, which are needed by the community, and which fit into the socio-cultural context. So yes, a lot of innovation is required. Now, if you see, Microsoft has initiated many such, action programs, but these action programs are not imposed by Microsoft. They are only providing the technology solution, but ultimately it is the people of the village and somebody in between. There has to be a transformation agent. Now that agent can be a technocrat. There is one company which is trying to create something like a platform where people can access their products. The rural area, the retailers have to go to cities to buy their products. So what they are saying is okay. So these kind of contextualized local solutions.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Rajagira. My question goes to Dr. Vijay Kumar. Dr. Vijay Kumar, if the things have changed as you all have mentioned, then why this migrants problem we have seen to this time during the COVID, and now against the reverse migration, although it was a reverse migration, after all the migrants who have gone to the big cities, even in Mumbai or Bangalore, etc., or Delhi, and they have gone back to the village, and now again they have gone back to the big cities. It clearly indicates that there are no job opportunities, no proper education facilities, no such type of facilities that will create the atmosphere for a youth to stay in the village. What you say about it? Yes, please,
Yeah,
go ahead.
thank you for asking this question, sir. I think the government should have the bottom-up approach instead of top-down approach. That is the basic issue I think we have in our country. Instead of the bottom-up approach, the government, most of the time, I'm not saying there have been some initiatives in which the government wants responses from the community. Even this Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, also the government directs various educational institutions through their students that they should collect data from the villages. So the issue of migration which you are talking, sir, this is really because of lack of employment opportunities in the villages. Because of these opportunities, people, they have to move to the urban areas, because urban areas have all the good facilities, they have employment opportunities, their living standard is very high as compared to rural areas. So they have to move to urban areas. During the COVID lockdown period, because all these opportunities, they were scaled down. Because of that, they have to move to their hometowns or their villages back. So that was the reason. But again, when the situation improved, they felt that it is better to have some work. It is better to move to urban areas, because if they don't have anything to eat in their rural areas, they will not be able to survive. At least in the urban areas, they will have some opportunity, some chances to survive. Government will take care of them. There are very charitable organizations who are taking care of them. At least somebody should.
Okay. Yes, we got your point. Thank you very much, Dr. Vijay Kumar. Are you there, Dr. Monica Call? Please switch on your video if you are there. Dr. Monica Call, are you there? No, she is not there. Okay, fine. So thank you very much. And so viewers, you have seen or heard today. Sorry,
I'm
Dr.
there, sir. I'm there, sir.
Okay, because you have kept your video. So now 30 seconds to you, Dr. Monica Call. What Dr. Vijay Kumar says is that the spirit should be that we should develop from the bottom to top, not from top to bottom, while the policies, irrespective of the parties, are from top to bottom. And that's why the villages are not being transformed. As do you agree with this or not, or you still feel that the city people should go and teach them and come back, and not that they should be evaluated, like Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal initially also mentioned the same thing, that we should do it from them within themselves. So Dr. Vijay Kumar says that it should be done from bottom to top. Do you agree with this or not?
So I would rather say that I have a different opinion from both the people, from Professor Agarwal as well as from Dr. Vijay Kumar, because I feel that each unit in our country is so different, and the kind of topography, the kind of physiography, the kind of geography we have, the kind of food resources we have in different parts of the country, the kind of ecological, environmental, and socio-economic problems, they are so different. It is very important for us to have policies which are not centrally steered. You should have policies.
Monica, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we are saying.
Yeah.
So in what way you are different?
I feel that we need to involve, it should be a crosstalk, and the crosstalk has to be continuously done. It should not be that we go there, they come to us, and we go there, we understand each other's.
That's a different thing. I'm sorry to interrupt. Okay. But you began by saying that you are having a different opinion. What is the different opinion? I wanted to know that part.
So I want to make emphasis on the fact that our way of looking at things has to change. There has to be a paradigm shift in the way we think about our villages.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Monica Goel. Paucity of time. Thank you very much. So viewers, you have seen today the views of the top management or the educators, people, and they have given their views very, very strongly, and they feel that the transformation of Indian villages are possible, which they are doing. But is it correct what they are saying? Are we only depending on the government? We don't have any responsibility as a civil society, or we are not doing, we think that they are only there just to feed us whenever we require. During the COVID, we have the main persons, or the main thing who have supported us were the villagers, the farmers. And today again we are talking, and we are not providing any basic infrastructures to them. Power crisis, fertilizer crisis, nobody is interested to talk to that, because that power crisis and the fertilizer crisis are for the rural area, the villages, not for the city, not for the urban area. So when this is the position, how we can think even for transforming villages, Indian villages? If we have to transform the Indian villages, we have to have a shift, mindset shift, and that is very much required. After all, 70% population stays there. We are a minority urban people. We sit in the air-conditioned rooms and talk about them. We are not interested to go there and work there. Until as we will not go there, stay there for 3, 4, or 5 years, then only we will understand their problems. But it all depends. As one of the panelists says, there is a difference everywhere. Yes, there is difference, but starting is done. Many good schemes are there. Only thing is, it should be followed with letter and spirit. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Mallandu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor to bring to you everyday new topic. And tomorrow our topic is vaccine milestone, because yesterday our Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi has declared that we have achieved 1 billion vaccines. Whether we have to celebrate or there is a long way to go, we will be discussing that point. And our panelists are Dr. Dilip Singhvi, is the specialist of internal medicine and diabetes. He is the medical director of Apollo Hospital, Muscat. Dr. Charu Maheshwari, she is a renowned obstetrician and gynecologist, Rainbow Hospital, Aligarh. Dr. Nikita Pawar, family physician and online consultant at Mumbai. And Dr. Deepti Shinde is the consultant obstetrician and gynecologist and vaginal surgeon, KRIMS Hospital, Wokhard Hospital, and Bhavani Hospital, Nagpur. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajat Gera. Thank you very much, Dr. Vijay Kumar. And thank you very much, Dr. Monica Goel, for giving your views. And thank you all the viewers for watching our show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.